Hey, this is Charlie Ingen from Scale the Summit, and you are watching Behind the Kit.
What if I told you that your shoes were holding you back? That these shoes can increase your stamina. That they would change how you feel about playing with your stinky feet. What if you had the control of bare feet and the attack of shoes? The answer is V-Ratum. These shoes are unlike anything I've ever experienced. They have changed the way I play, and I will never go back to drumming in regular shoes. I never expected such a difference. A shoe is a shoe, right? Wrong. They are an experience. It's like when Harry Potter upgrades his wand and then has a bunch of new spells.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that little video I made for V-Ratum. That was a lot of fun. Thank you again to V-Ratum for hooking me up with a discount on those shoes. They're not paying me for this, but seriously, killer shoes. Like, seriously, don't even question getting them. Like, just go get them. I'll see if I can get a discount code for you guys. Like, check out. You could do like Behind the Kit 10 or something like that. That would be pretty cool. So if I have that, I will put it in this video. If not, you're not seeing this part. But you should not play with stinky feet, like, for reals, because it's pretty gross for, like, especially if you have a tech or something. Rude. I'll put the V-Ratum website right here on my finger, and then I will slowly move it down to the description. And you guys can check it out from there. Here it goes. Oh, yep, it's going. There it goes, and it's out. Okay, then. If you guys know of any products you want me to work with, let me know, and I'll reach out to those guys as well. I really love making those videos. So here we go with the rest of the interview. Hey guys, today on Behind the Kit, we get to talk to Charlie from Scale the Summit and Ideology. Ask him a bunch of questions. He answers the questions. Then he gives me more answers to the questions. So first off, thanks so much for doing this for me.
Absolutely, man.
Guys, we got Charlie here. We're at the Metro here in Salt Lake City. If you don't know who he is, you're not living life correctly. So, how did you get in with Scale the Summit?
I joined up with Scale pretty much a year ago. Chris was a big fan of mine already, so he was looking for a drummer, and he just contacted me. He was watching my stuff, you know, on the internet, and so we just talked straight from there and
Nice.
wrote a record. He was already writing, I should say, so completed that, and then I went and recorded it 2 months later. And then, yeah, here we are now on the tour.
Nice.
So it was pretty seamless with the internet.
What about Ideology?
So Ideology started years ago, probably 4 years ago. Me and the main guitar player and writer, Mike Salo, he We went to music school together.
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, it was in music college, and we had tunes kind of, written and then changing over the course of years. Then we got the full band together, and then we recorded that, 2 years ago roughly. And then we got some new stuff we're working on too. So that was
Nice.
more of a process and a little more,
Yeah.
personal, I guess
Yeah.
you could say. But so yeah, those are the two main projects.
So are you the permanent drummer of Scale the Summit now?
Yeah.
As far as you know?
Yep, I
Cool.
am.
Cool.
Yep, so I'll be on the next one and everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then how did this Angel Vivaldi thing come about?
That just came into play because they were talking about touring together, and just the logistics of a tour bus and just making the tour happen, smoothly. It made more sense to use the same rhythm section, which is a common thing these days. And so it worked out great. Me and Killian
Nice.
are playing double duty, and that's pretty basically that. Yeah, it really had nothing to do with us other than being asked, "Do you want to do double duty?" Which was like kind of a no-brainer. And then you get on the first week and you're like, "Oh man, like I feel this."
Yeah.
But it's going smooth now.
Good.
Yep.
What's your favorite album that you've performed on?
Favorite album I performed on? I'd have to go with Ideology just because it was a little more of like my baby, Like all those parts came from me essentially, and the scale, there was a lot more pre-production involved, and I wanted to play more to the written parts, I guess you could say, like the written guitar parts too, and there's a little more linkage in there. And Ideology was a little more like, constructed, and I can basically go as crazy as I want to, even if I chose not to really do that. But it was a little more my baby, so I'd say that one.
Cool.
Yeah, self-titled.
Who are your main drum influences?
So my main drum influences, that spans some generations, or some decades, I should say. Like my younger influences were definitely like Mike Portnoy, Neil Peart, Terry Bozzio, and then like into my teens, like Marco Miniman, Gavin Harrison, who's still today ring true, and then who else? Thomas Lang, Virgil Donati, a lot of the big guns. I love Benny Greb, of course, and like some more of those funky dudes. And the fusion guys like Dave Weckl, Dennis Chambers, Vinny Colaiuta. So a lot of the typical ones, I guess you could say, and I just kind of blended them all together as much as I could.
Nice. Have you gotten to meet any of them?
Let's see. Yeah, not as many as I would think. Marco a few times, Portnoy once only actually, and none of those other guys though. Oh, Weckl I met.
Nice.
And Bozzio quickly, Chad Wackerman I met, but. More of the guys I know are like my peers basically. I know a lot of those guys. But,
okay. So in regards to that, who do you think are the top drummers coming out?
Well, it's hard to deny like Matt Gartzka being one of my top guys. Benny Greb, if you want to consider it that. Dan Mayo, I love his playing. Alex Rudinger, Anoop Sastry, who's a buddy of mine.
He's so good.
Yeah, real good. I like all these guys, like all those guys. Blake Richardson, I really like him from Between the Buried and Me. And there's so many nowadays, but those are the ones that stick out in my brain.
Nice. What's the drum track that you're most proud of?
Oh man, drum track that I'm most proud of. Ideology Inhale is a good one. I feel like that's got some real cool parts that are like more crafty. You don't think of them as being standout-ish. Like they're not super flashy. Some parts, there's a couple like solos in there, I think. But those parts are pretty cool because they're tough and they intertwine with the guitar parts a lot, which I enjoy. So that one, I like Royal Orphan from Scale. Pretty drum-centric, pretty busy. And but it's a fun one to play. It's pretty funky. Those two I'd say if you want to pick one from each album.
What music do you listen to when you're out touring, or what have you been into recently?
I don't listen to a ton of music in general, but when I do, I like the new Leprous, talking about recent albums. I love that new album. New Haken. Who else? I still go to my throwbacks like newer Soilwork and Symphony X and bands like that. And I like Porcupine Tree, stuff like that. I listen to a lot of podcasts though, and I like soundtracky style music too.
Nice.
Like any Hans Zimmer stuff, and there's a few other composers. But it's a lot of like what I'm learning at the time, So then by default, I had to listen to a lot of Angel and Scale for this to rehearse 25 songs or whatever. And but in my own time, it's a lot of like prog rock stuff and prog metal.
How has social media changed the way of the music business, in your opinion? Is it better or worse?
In my opinion, social media has changed it. I'd say better and worse. As a musician, I'd say it's better because now everybody's got a shot, I'd say, to like rise to the top of whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah.
You at least have the ability to be heard, where that used to not be the issue, or like the situation. And now I'd say the only issue is that it's a little more watered down. Nothing's as lucrative. You're fighting against like the powers that be a little bit too with algorithms and stuff like that, but you can finagle your way through that enough. But yeah, the biggest thing I think is that there's not as much money being thrown around for things that should be worthy of money, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like now you have to do a lot to gain a little, as far as like everything's kind of high budget. It's like everything comes out well, like a lot of people have killer product, and by default then that just kind of waters everything down. But there's a lot that goes into that topic too. I mean, if you want to talk like the record label stuff and what the social media has done to that, then you're dealing with bigger issues like 360 deals and companies that want to really take advantage of streaming revenue, which is basically non-existent.
Right.
So like, yeah, it opens up some doors. But as an individual musician, I feel like it's helped a lot. As far as, I mean, all my gigs basically came from that, and like people knowing who I even am. So it's hard to knock something that you built your platform on, or you built your foundation
brand,
on.
rather.
Your brand is a good way to put it.
If you could tell your past self any advice, what would it be?
Boy, if I could tell my past self anything, that's always a tough question, because you hate to like want to negate everything you've done or anything you've done or something you've done. But probably to not be afraid to dig into the social media world. Not that I was afraid, but I always ignored it, especially being like I was kind of the generation right before that. I'm 32, so it was like, in high school, not many people had cell phones. There was no like Facebook and stuff, and I kind of like ignored that through my college days of music. I had some videos out, but I was just more known as a local guy. And so, I wish I would have started that earlier, just so that it was done with almost, if you want to put it that way. And like just establishing that brand on the internet. I wish I would have done that a little sooner, because I was 30 years old, But other than that, nothing much, maybe... nothing really specific, It's kind of all part of the puzzle, isn't it?
Definitely.
But I just started early on the internet stuff, I suppose.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to pop in and let you know that at the end of this interview, there's a full playthrough of the song called The Great Plains. The audio is not great, but the song is close to me, so I wanted to play it anyway. If you want to hear the studio version, I'll link it below. It's in the description down there. When somebody says, "Scale Summit, who's that?" then I kindly say to them, "You never heard of Scale Summit? What's wrong with you? Let me put on a song." And they will normally say, "Okay, but it better be good." So I always play the same song. That's a spoiler. The song is called The Great Plains. Back to the interview. How much involvement do you have in the songwriting process? I know you didn't have much on this last Scale Summit, right?
Yeah.
But the next one...
Yeah, the next one, what we'll probably do, you never really know, but it'll be like a pre-production thing, but I think we're then going to get together with all of us and then like hash out sections and probably then transform them to their next thing, So for Scale, I think it's going to be like full pre-production where Chris does his thing, and then, probably ask me about drum grooves for this section or that section, like what would you do here or something, and then it'll be more collaborative at the end. And then with Ideology, it's much more... Mike sends me guitar tracks, and I jam to it to try and craft it, and then we go back and forth. But it's kind of the same thing, you got to let the guitar player do their thing too. I don't really want to get too much in the way of it, because otherwise then you start to get too many cooks in the kitchen, and then it's just... I don't know, you start wasting time is the big thing too. It's like you're better off like getting it done and then doing a little bit of like creativity together at the end of that than just trying to write an album with a guitar player from scratch, because they're so much better at writing in their home studio and just ripping stuff out. So it kind of similar with both groups, except for that with the Ideology stuff I have much more input as far as like forms and stuff like that go.
What do you think has been your biggest accomplishment?
My biggest accomplishment...
Let's wait till this plane flies over.
Yeah, I will. So my biggest accomplishment, I'd have to say, getting my master's degree in music, regardless of how I feel about like student loans and just the system in general. as a human, I was really happy to accomplish that. And that sets me up good for teaching, which I always enjoy at a college level anyway. So I'm glad I got the master's done. And, you know, my biggest accomplishment, I guess, it's more human accomplishments, you know, like I'm glad I was diligent in my teens and played a ton of drums, you know, and like I was able to like keep my focus through all these years, which can obviously be tricky no matter what you're into, you know. So I'd say it's just that, staying focused through all, you know, the trials and tribulations of life, you know. But yeah, that and the masters.
Tell me about your double bass technique and how that has evolved over time.
Yeah, my double bass technique, you know, it honestly is nothing specific. I'm mainly a heel up player, and I kind of pivot from my ankles, and I plant with like the ball of my foot and my toes, and I do a lot of like flicking, you know, almost like I liken it to the Moeller technique and stuff in the sense that it's like if I whip a bouncy ball at the ground, I'm not like just tossing it, and the same goes with my foot, you know, I'm not just like thudding my foot down or anything. So a lot of it comes from the swivel of my ankle, but it's not like an actual swivel technique or anything, like side to side or heel toe or anything. I don't find enough power in those techniques. Some people can, and then with triggers or something, you know, there's always that. But yeah, I like that real nice crisp snap, you know. So yeah, a lot of mine just comes from the torque of my ankle, and then yeah, heel up. I'll play heel down a little bit, but yeah, all the speedy stuff and control is, it's like the ball of my foot and toes.
What's your favorite thing on your kit right now?
Favorite thing on my kit right now, I'd have to say having 2 floor toms on my right side, which was I never did until recently, you know, like what, 5 months ago or something when I got my new kit.
Oh, nice.
So having 2 floor toms on my right side, I can now, like I didn't even tour with like this tour, I don't have anything on my left, which I've always had for years now anyways. And yeah, putting the 2 floors on the right and abandoning the left tom, I actually don't miss it as much as I thought I would.
Oh, really?
A little bit. It took me a little time to like adjust some of my parts, because some of my parts were written for that, and I'd like have to do some weird crossover thing. But other than that, yeah, I'm really digging the 2 floor tom thing.
If you could take lessons from any drummer, who would it be?
Lessons from any
Dead
drummer.
or alive?
Dead or alive? I'd probably still go Gavin Harrison, and just if I could talk, it'd be with like Neil Peart and Danny Carey. It'd probably be though. I forgot him on my influences too. Major influence. And yeah, it'd probably be those two. You know, if I could talk to things and ask questions. As far as like somebody showing me licks or something or ideas, it'd be Gavin for sure.
Such a beast.
Yeah, he's a monster, and he thinks I think similar to him as far as my rhythmic phrasing and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
So I think I could gain a lot from him because I could like get into his head a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried playing with his sticks? His signature
Oh
sticks?
yeah, I got a few pairs of them. Yeah, they tear my hands up now. They put a new grip on them.
Yeah.
They used to have an old different grip on them.
Yep.
And then now there's a new grip, and they tear my fingers apart. So I use them on the pad because I do like them.
Yeah.
But I do not like the grip at all.
What's the worst drum malfunction you've ever had?
Worst drum malfunction's an easy one. I was playing drums for the Red Bull Crashed Ice event. It's like where they downhill skate down an ice track, you know. And we had it in St. Paul, and I got that gig where in the intro of it, it was just me playing drums with a bunch of fire around me, and they did this big intro presentation. Well, long story short, and this is in front of like 100-some thousand people. And in short, my in-ears, like they must have muted me on the board is what I'm guessing, because we did 3 sound checks, everything was perfect, sounded great, you know, and I was playing along to Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And I'm reaching back here because there was monitors like above me, but way up like 150 feet, probably not quite. Yeah, probably more like 80 feet. Either way, I couldn't hear them at all. I started playing nothing. And I heard these bells were going to be the trigger, you know, the cathedral bells. It was at the St. Paul Cathedral. And then I couldn't hear them, couldn't hear the For Whom the Bell Tolls bells. And I'm like, uh-oh, you know, so I'm like panicking. There's video of this on YouTube. I put the video up of me panicking. It's like behind. And so I had my sound guys like, you know, I'm like scrambling. And they're like, no, you can hear them talking. And anyways, yeah, I had to play the whole thing with no monitors. And I was like, I couldn't hear the first 25 seconds or whatever it is on the tune. And I'm just praying to God I'm not like, you know, like seconds ahead of the track, because with all that adrenaline, I'm like, I'm for sure going to rush it. So I actually sucked back, and when it came out, I could hear James Hetfield's vocals come in, like the da-da-da-da-da-da, and I could hear his like rhythm, so I was like, yes. And I actually came out really close, like nobody could ever tell. So yeah, that could have been disaster upon, you know, like the worst disaster ever. Like, what's that drummer doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that one.
Yeah, definitely linking that one below.
Yeah, great times.
Do you prefer studio or touring or?
Yeah, do I prefer studio or touring? That's a good question. I like them both. I prefer studio because I'm in my routine, I think. You know, it's just like every day, I'm a routine-oriented person too. So every day I got my thing, I got my kit downstairs, it's all mic'd up. Whatever I get, you know, like ambition or whatever, like when I like feel like I want to play for the day, I can go play. If I don't feel like playing, I don't play. Where touring, it's like, doesn't matter what you feel like, you're playing. But all that being said, the crowd and all of that, you know, you can't replace that.
Yeah.
So it's been great. I've enjoyed this tour a ton. And we've been, you know, I did 14 straight shows to start the tour, 2 days off, 4, a day off, and now 12 to end it. So, I mean, it's a pretty good grind, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I like a mix of both. But if I had to pick one or the other, it'd be studio.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Behind the Kit. Please comment, please subscribe, and leave a like, because all that makes a difference for me and for everybody in the world. It's about world peace, y'all. Thanks for watching Behind the Kit. Thanks for watching Behind the Kit. This is my eyeball.